Welcome to Crash Shop. Brad here. Today I'm going to be doing my first video in a new series called Shop Talk. And I want this series to be a knowledge platform. I want to be able to share everything that I possibly can, but I also want to learn as much as I possibly can. I want to see your comments and I want to hear your opinions and your viewpoints on specific topics. So the first video in the series is going to be about my workshop. I get a lot of comments asking about how I got a workshop like this. And I want to share with you guys everything that I learned along the way. It was tough to find a place like this, but hopefully I can make it easier for you guys. Hopefully I can share the knowledge I've picked up. So let's dive right in. Alright, I want to start by saying that I am by no means a master in this category. And until I'm gray and old, I'm only going to have about this much knowledge to share, but I'm going to do the best I can to share what I have. A workspace can be anywhere, and depending on your craft, a table in the corner of your living room might be sufficient. I've seen awesome garage workshops, amazing basement shops. I've seen workshops in sheds that are fully functional. And if you have the power to utilize your own property, your own house for your workshop, that is what you should stick to. So you're looking for some space to entertain your hobby, to run your small business, and maybe the space you have at home just isn't cutting it. What are your options? Your options are going to vary depending on where you live in the world. I'm from Northern Illinois, a little bit out of the city, and I live in a suburban area. Let me give you a brief rundown of where I started and where I'm at currently. I live in a townhouse, and I worked out of the garage for about 2 years, making primarily furniture. It was a 2-car garage, and I was able to take up about half of the garage. I had my tools lined up all against one wall of the garage, and every time I was done using my tools, I'd have to tuck them all up. I began teaching myself to blacksmith, and this quickly became a huge passion of mine. But there was no way I was gonna be able to smack an anvil all day in a townhouse community. I mean, our houses are literally connected to each other, and that would just kind of echo all throughout the neighborhood, and I didn't want to get complaints. Luckily, my brother is also deeply passionate about blacksmithing, and he was able to help me convince our dad to let us run a forge in his backyard. Now, an outdoor workshop isn't exactly ideal, but it worked for us, and we made it work for about a year or so. It was a larger property, so we were able to make as much noise as we really wanted. We ended up starting a company, and with this, we challenged ourselves to tougher projects, and we spent all of our earnings on new tools and shop equipment. And storing all of our new tools outside just wasn't gonna cut it. We didn't want to ruin them, and we knew that we needed more space. So we started looking around. I had no clue where to search, and I probably spent months searching before I even found anything remotely close to my budget, which was small. I mean, probably about $300 at the time. But I was extremely lucky to have my brother because he was somebody that was able to help split rent with me if we found a place. We eventually found a listing on Craigslist for a super run-down building, and the owner wanted to rent it as a storage unit. I got in contact with the owner and I convinced him to let me check out the place and talk to him about what I wanted to use it for. Luckily, he was a really nice guy, and after a little bit of haggling, he offered to rent it to me. That's the building that I'm in now. It's about 500 square feet. There's no running water, no heat, no air conditioning. There was a small electrical box that we had to totally rerun through the building, and I mean, there was like 2 outlets in here. After searching for months, this was a great find for us, and we couldn't sign the lease faster. I was on the computer every night trying to search for a place like this, and I didn't even know what to search. I just typed in warehouse for rent, small workshop for rent, you know, yada yada yada, and I wasn't really turning up anything. I kept my eyes open. You know, every time I was driving by the street and I saw signs that a building was for lease, and I called every number. Even if it was a 10,000 square foot building, maybe that guy would want to rent out, you know, 1,000 square feet to me or something like that. And there were a few places that I thought were gonna go through, but they didn't like the idea of blacksmithing. They would have worked great for a workshop, but they didn't want to see somebody running a forge there. Something that really seemed to give me hope and that I actually got responses off of was posting my own ads on Craigslist. I posted in, I think it's the housing section. I mentioned I was looking for a workspace for my woodworking and blacksmithing company. I mentioned that I would take garage space, barn space, even a back corner of someone's warehouse. At first, I got no responses though. My listings kept expiring and I kept having to repost them And this went on for a couple months probably. Eventually I got a handful of people offering me space, and it was awesome, but a lot of them just weren't quite gonna work for me. I remember the first one, there was a guy with a 3-car garage in the next town over that didn't even use his garage, but his whole family was living in the house and it wasn't a detached garage, so my hours of work would be very limited there, and I didn't want to have to worry about that. I also got a couple guys offering me space in their barns, which would be awesome, but one of them didn't have electricity and the other one was full of animals, so I think that would just be a little bit weird. But Craigslist seemed to be my only hope for finding space that was actually in my price range. I just had to keep searching through listings every single day, and I had to keep responding to every offer I got. Eventually I found 2 listings that had great potential. One of them was a barn and one of them was this place. I went and I checked out this place. It was a lot closer to home, but it was a little bit smaller. The barn would have been awesome. It had more space, but the cons were that it was further away and it had huge tall ceilings, which is great, but in the Midwest in the wintertime, it's gonna be very difficult to heat that place unless I've got a huge wood stove cranking, and I just don't have that. So I checked out this place and it was great. It worked for me, so I signed the lease. If you're not in the city, look for barns. Whether you're out in the country or just in the suburbs, barns are a great resource because so many of them are empty. Go up and talk to the owner, let them know that you're looking for space, even leave a note with your phone number at the door. So many people, you'll be surprised, are willing to help. Whether or not they have space for you, they might have contacts for you, and contacts are one of the most important things you can have. And in my opinion, so is a partner. Maybe a shop isn't what you should be looking for quite yet, maybe a partner is. Not necessarily somebody to work with you or to join your small business, but even just somebody else that's looking for workshop space, because believe me, you are not alone. I'm on Instagram every once in a while, and there's a huge DIY community out there, and they're constantly posting pictures of their projects, and I'm always seeing their workspaces. 95% of people are working out of their homes, and that is totally fine. Power to them. If I wasn't living in a townhouse, I would be working out of my garage, I'd be working out of my basement, I would be taking over my whole house. But that's just not the case right now. If you're a property owner, maybe you want to consider building a shop. I have no experience in the field, but so many other people do, especially here on YouTube. And the best thing to do is to contact those people and ask them how they did it. And most people are proud of their accomplishments, and they're gonna be happy to reach out to you and to help you achieve your goals. This shop isn't everything we wanted. The space is a bit tight, especially with 2 people working in here. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 people in here working at a time. We don't have a bathroom, we don't have running water. There's a faucet outside about 50 yards from the building. We're able to fill buckets of water with that, but we can't do it in the winter. We don't plan to make this a permanent shop space, but it's a great space to be while we grow our business. And hopefully one day we can move into a new shop or even build a shop of our own. Overall, my best advice is to talk to everybody. Open up, post ads, and make sure people know that you are searching for a workspace. And don't start off by trying to look for a small warehouse, because generally they are extremely out of your budget, especially if they're in an industrial district. You might not have the space at your house, but somebody else might. Somebody else might have a detached garage on a huge piece of property that might work great for you. Keep your eyes open for garages. Keep your eyes open for barns, for basements. Even large sheds might work for some of you. And remember, it is so tough to find everything you want in a space unless you build it yourself or you spend years modifying the building. And if you need to, look for somebody to share rent costs with. They don't need to be your partner in crime. They might just be a person looking for storage space. And being able to have somebody else help out with rent might help you get a larger space. And if all you're finding is large buildings and warehouses, ask the owner if they're willing to split up the floor. If they have a 10,000 square foot building and you only need 1,000 square feet, they might cut you a deal. At the moment, this is all I really have to say. I will share with you more as I pick up the knowledge. Just keep your eyes open and don't give up your search, because you will find a place that works. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. I've got tons of build videos on my channel, and I'll see you in the next Shop Talk video.